always a fine line, Ben, isn't there, between banter or, I don't mind fellow redheads taking, gentle sort of taking, the mickey out of other redheads. I think there's all, but there is a fine line. I mean, the thing that really got my hackles up about that was that, on the face of it, it's quite funny, but why is it socially acceptable to mock someone for
are we laughing at the fact
characteristics?
She's redhead, or are we laughing at the prejudice against redhead? Because obviously redheads don't stay inside as soon as the sun comes out, do they?
Yeah, but there's this kind of preconception, isn't there, of what a redheaded person is.
It's something, as a comedian, I make jokes at my expense, self-deprecating jokes about being a redhead, obviously, and I do that in clubs around the country, and redheaded audience members come up to me afterwards and are delighted and show me pictures of their redheaded kids, which I couldn't be less interested in. But I play along because it's polite, isn't it? And
Do you want to see the picture of mine?
Oh, absolutely not, Jake. No. For goodness sake, no. The thing is, I talk about this in my show, the idea that we're sort of discriminated against or that there's sort of prejudice. Like, I enumerate examples of prejudice that I've experienced, like the fact that I can't do celebrity impersonations because I'm so red-headed that they come out Scottish, whatever I do. Like, if I try and do an impression of the actor Robert De Niro, I just look like a Scotsman who can't believe you're breaking up with him.
But I think you would do a great Mick Hucknall.
Now, that's a very offensive remark. I have to say, I take exception.
So here we are. But you're in a situation where you have owned this now, and you are a grown-up, and you're an adult, and you are now plying your trade as an adult. But what a lot of the feedback we've had here is it's the abuse and the grief that the kids get when they aren't capable of coming back with quick one-liners or owning it that they're redheads. That's where they've all struggled. Lots of these people saying, I hated it when I was a child. I love it now that I'm an adult and I can see it's different and it's unique. And that's the issue, I think, isn't it, Jake, as well? Because you've got children. Yes. You've got children that have red hair. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they're going through that as well. They're trying to sort of work with that identity and what is and isn't acceptable for people to say about it.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think what Alasdair has done is absolutely the right thing, but without a doubt, Alasdair wouldn't have a set without sort of the experiences that he's gone through. And as you say, it's kind of toughened him up. But there's always this assumption with ginger people that, that we've got to kind of, toughen up and that we should, sort of put a brave face on it. But, I don't think you should
because jokes are made as adults, it somehow kind of gives a sanction to kids to take the mickey out of red-headed people at school, because in a way that they wouldn't about the colour of someone's skin or something.
Absolutely, yeah, and that was the point I was making as well. That in my experience, well, when I was younger, I had a lot of hair, believe it or not, red hair. So I've got the experience of growing up, being ginger. I'm 47 years old now, and talking to nearly, in my experience, talking to every red-headed person that I've ever met, we've always got common experiences about the abuse you've received. And I would say probably 60-70% of red-headed people have grown up with this sort of abuse. And I think you're right. You either suck it up and it kind of makes you into the character that you are. But as we're seeing that people getting in touch, people have been suicidal. They're complaining about their kids at school being bullied, that want to dye their hair. Someone tweeted me who's dyed their hair since they're a kid and still continue to dye it, and they still suffer from confidence issues. So, I think bullying, discrimination, prejudice are very sort of serious issues. There's never any justification for them in any area. And for me, growing up ginger and talking to, all my life, having these experiences, common experiences, I think it's a very important subject.
Without doubt, Alasdair, we have shifted so dramatically in the last 5 years, but let's go back a bit further, the last 10 years, just in terms of what is acceptable to tease somebody over. You don't tease them, certainly, about their skin colour, their size, their weight, their height. We've become much more conscious of actually the impact that can have.
Well, I think what Jake's talking about, in a way, it's a good sign, because casually discriminatory jokes used to be commonplace. They used to be commonplace in workplaces and comedy clubs and on television, and to a lesser extent, that they haven't gone away, but that they're much less common now. And in a way, I think ginger people have sort of stepped up to play that role of the person who you can give a little bit of a kick to and nobody's really offended. And you're absolutely right, I would never condone bullying. I think bullying is horrible, and what kids go through is terrible. What I would say is that the red-headed thing is kind of interchangeable. If it's not red hair, it's going to be some other quality, because if you're being bullied, the problem isn't in you, it's in the bully. It's in the person who thinks they have to belittle someone else to make themselves feel better.
Is it because redheads are unusual? There's not many of them. How many redheads
Well, we're in
have
a
you got in the
minority,
world?
innit? I think it's 1%.
Tiny, squidgy minority, yeah.
Well, I think it's great that we're having this conversation. I think it's great that you've invited me here. I think it's overwhelming, the response we've had on the Twitter. If you go to my Twitter and look at all responses, I think people are just pleased for an opportunity to sort of tell their story and give their kind of their experiences. So I think it's great that we're starting the conversation. I think if one person after this, watching this, thinks about teasing or making an inappropriate comment to someone who's got red hair, then job done. You know, it's.
What about the word ginger as well, and calling someone ginger, because that's actually on a list of words that we're not supposed to use.
Yeah, I've only found out this morning. Apparently, it's on an Ofcom list of it's mildly offensive. Now, I don't find ginger offensive. I think as a red-headed bloke or bald red-headed bloke, whatever you want to call him.
Sorry, are you red-headed?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Altogether.
Hang on, can I just do this?
That's what it was like.
There we go. So yeah, flashback 30 years. There you go.
Now that's Mick Hucknall. Come on. Be reasonable.
Where were we?
Well, you were talking about the word ginger.
Yes. Oh, yes. So for me, ginger's not offensive. Again, I think it's always intention with these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
If someone drives past you in a car and shouts out ginger, whatever, so and so, and that's deeply offensive, and that's that's an experience again that most redheads will have an experience of. So. I think it's just raising that conversation. But yeah, it's always about intention. Ginger, I have no problem with personally, but I think it's.
I do think it's about intention. You know, I'm doing an Edinburgh Fringe show called The Interdimensional ABK. I should say that, The Interdimensional ABK. It's at the Edinburgh Fringe for all of August. Tickets are on sale now. That was pretty subtle, Ben.
Yeah, very subtle. Don't worry about that.
Just wanted to make sure that the public knew. And we do face there's that perennial news story that redheads are going extinct or something like that because of climate change, which is ridiculous. It's because nobody wants to, couple up with us, as I believe you say.
on Love
ITV too. ITV, sorry, I've forgotten which ITV we're on.
Any of them.
All of the ITVs, yeah. But I think it is about intent and context, because we want to look at jokes and examine a joke and see, is this joke acceptable or is this joke bad? And the reality is, it's acceptable. Like, we met about 5 minutes ago and now we're extremely close friends. If you made a joke about my expense, I wouldn't be offended. But when someone yells it out of a moving van at me, then I'm annoyed.
Then you know it's offensive.
Because it's the meaning behind it rather than the thing itself. So the word I don't find offensive, but it's the intent behind it.
Okay. Really, really enjoyed having you both in. Thank you very much.
It's been a redhead celebration, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I like it.
Good.
Solidarity.
It was your tweet this morning where you said, right, my ginger comrades, I'm going on television.
I'm fiercely proud of being ginger, of having red hair, and I'll always instill that in any young person that I meet. I'll always encourage them to be proud of it and yeah,
Embrace it.
Let's open the conversation,
too.
yeah.